What's it like being a cop today? In this episode of Rising Star Book Club, I sit down with Jennifer Stowell, author of Driven to Serve. She is the sister of a modern day man in blue. We find out what's it really like being a cop in this day and age. What's it like called to serve as a young man, and what toll is today's being a police officer really taken on the men and women who are standing in blue. So Jennifer, welcome to the show and good to see you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me.
Okay, great. So first of all, I know that the book, a big piece of the book was you had, a lot of a lot of people that contributed and gave you a lot of background. One of those primary pieces was your brother Leon. So tell us about how the book came to be. Tell us a little bit about your background and tell us a little bit about Leon.
Sure. That was actually the name we used temporarily until I was able to get permission to use his real name, which is Jeffrey. And he is
such a difference there, okay?
And he's my older brother, and he is very special and dear to my heart. And he is the entire inspiration for this book because I couldn't bear the thought of anything happening to him on the front lines, serving as a deputy sheriff and as a field training officer, especially in light of recent events that have occurred since the beginning of the pandemic. And so we just started to text message each other quite a bit, and I just had a lot of questions, and he was right there to answer them and to support my learning and better understanding of the profession in general. And so it got to be so many text messages and so much great information that I decided to turn it into a book.
Okay. And it's a deep dive. I mean, even the list of chapters are extensive. I mean, you really made sure you did a very thorough job. So what is your background?
I have a master's in public administration, so I am a field researcher as my academic training, and I'm very entrepreneurial as well. I do a lot of marketing and sales and organizational support, mostly nonprofits and professional associations.
Okay. Definitely another area of heroes as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, so did this really come, because again, 2020 will go down a year in history. I mean, for so many reasons. And so and your brother comes through as a hero. With that in that, so the process of because it seems like that from that what you're saying is just simply keeping him safe and keeping him sourcing him being safe, right? That this unfolded to this very extensive work. What was the time frame for the book?
As far as how long it took me to write it in total, yeah. It was a span of more than a decade. From the time I initially started on the topic, it was during my first graduate school course. The year was probably 2010, maybe. And I was in a human resource management course, and I was challenged to engage in a project that involved learning more about some public service of my choice. And my brother was just hired as a deputy sheriff, and I needed to conduct multiple interviews throughout the organization. And he was able to arrange for me to go on several ride-alongs with different sergeants and some of the newer sheriff deputies. And I learned a lot, and I took a lot of notes. I had a research compilation started, And then now we're in 2020 last year, and it just made perfect sense to finish that and publish, to bring to the light and to give it that perspective that so many are that could a lot of people could benefit from right now.
Okay, so and what's really one of the amazing things about the book is that, and you go into you go into that there is lingo, there's culture, and there's family, that police officers and those that fire and whatever else that serve in public service, they have family and support from within, because their life is different, and the stress and other elements of it, that they get to have their own place of being. And then within that, it's almost like two worlds, that so you got to bring that together to open up what that world looks like, and what their lives are like as part of who and what they do.
Exactly. Yeah. And the most important finding that came through for the professionals is, the emotional side, and how frequently the people that I was fortunate enough to get to know, just how much they bottle up their emotions, and how they make so many more sacrifices on a personal level than most people realize. And that I learned from my brother, but I also learned through other connections that I formed in the field, and realized that this is a common pattern that they deal with so much on a daily basis. The nature of this profession is constant stress and constantly thinking on your feet and dealing with very challenging matters. You really have no idea what the next day might bring as far as your stress and your challenges. And then you want to separate yourself from your work when you want to be with your family, and the enjoyment of that can be hindered by overly sharing too much about the stress of your job. And so it's very common that they bottle up their emotions, and they keep a lot of it to themselves.
Because they don't have anywhere else to go to share, because it's a unique institution in that serving like that. And even when they were off, you were referencing that that they may not be off, that there may be a call. And so within that, there's been a lot of alienation going on, and polarization. These are going to be words used to describe 2020 on so many different levels, and so many different pieces of a society. So first I'm going to say, so the book was work, a decade in the making. And then knowing, being on the publishing side, there takes time for the book to, the publishing date and whatnot. Now, did the book come out in August? When was the book released?
October 24th was the official release date on Kindle.
Okay. So, and then when you went to the publisher, which we know what publisher that you were in great hands with, what date did you say, okay, let's this is it, let's let this out? What how many months before that was that?
6, give or take.
Okay, so it's a short. Okay, and yet still, then, so when things started to go crazy this summer, and we're going to say that things went crazy this summer, that you were standing in this, and that being your courage, your conviction, your integrity, to getting your story out, other stories, because this isn't about you either. That's the amazing generosity here. But you were in that release date was coming, and then the summer unfolded. What was that like for you?
I'll be honest with you, it was not easy. It was rather scary sometimes, because I did not want to cause any further conflict And I also didn't want to lose friends over the matter, because my intent was more for the public service and the public safety aspect. It wasn't necessarily to be political. And this particular subject is rather political inherently, so it was very challenging to avoid getting into political conversations involving law enforcement and public service in general. So I was a little scared at how that would be received, and if I would have any backlash from associating my name with it. And I, it, I finally moved past that with the help of my friend Tom, who wrote the foreword, who's the founder of the Fallen Heroes. And he just gave me a much better perspective, as he usually does when I have concerns of that nature. And the message was important enough to carry it forward and bring it to the surface that I didn't mind so much anymore about all the bad things that could happen.
Okay, and we'll put a little note on that. No, that you stood in your calling, and did not were not dissuaded as things got hot this summer to still stand and get this. It's an informative book. It's a bridging, actually. It's an informative book that, again, so many of the public service have institutions within themselves that it allows others to have some insight and to bridge for people that are serving us and keeping us safe. So I admire you for that, and I just want to extend that.
Thank you so much. And I also appreciate that it's not an easy subject for anybody, but it impacts all of our lives so much. And what 3 things everyone wants is health, happiness, and safety. And to have these heroes, and as much as we want to critique the decisions that are made and the discretion of those decisions while on the front lines, they're putting their lives on the line for our safety, for the general purpose of safety, to serve and to protect, to be there for the community, to ensure that everyone's safe. So it's not an easy topic by any means.
Yeah. So was there some backlash? How was it when you stepped into authorship, international best-selling authorship? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome. How was that ride? Because that's supposed to be fun. It's thrilling and exciting. Was yours exceptionally exciting, or let's hopefully say it wasn't?
Definitely, of course, and I would do it again and again, and it was especially exciting to learn which people ended up bonding with this book on a level that I didn't imagine when I was writing it, because my objective was very focused on my brother and concern for his safety while I was home and couldn't go anywhere. And so I had a lot of extra time on my hands to really examine this particular matter and the public perception of it, and all the different discourse that was already occurring in social media and the news and everything. So, I had my primary source, my brother, who was able to clarify a lot of these questions that so many people were wondering about and paying attention to, in particular during these uncertain times that we've been in since the start of the 2020 global pandemic.
And so actually then you stepped in with history and played your role, and you stood strong. So okay, so the book, first of all, it's in depth. It goes to what it's like to serve and be a public servant. It goes into the institution, it goes into the training, it goes into the aspects of media, it goes into politicians. I mean, it goes in the gamut. So if there were 5 takeaways, because the book was the purpose, so, and then was to educate, was to inform, was to bridge, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so within that, the 5 takeaways, the 5 things you'd say, listen, this is really, I would love everyone to know. What would they be?
Okay, in no particular order. I'm just going to say what comes to mind right now. First and foremost is appreciation, and that would be for anyone who is in a profession that involves personal sacrifice, whether that is emotionally or for the high risk of mortality that is in law enforcement. And that's why we chose to shine a light on law enforcement professionals in particular, because that high risk is definitely worth further consideration above and beyond the limitations of the news that is designed to grab our attention. It's designed to make conversation. So the second point would be to just examine other perspectives other than the first 1 or 2 or 3 that you may hear, and try to form a more well-rounded perspective on all things in life, but in particular law enforcement right now, and to just be critical of those sources that you're listening to. And the other thing would be to contribute more within the community public discussions where there could be some meaning for ideas for innovation and for really changing the landscape and improving the public servants that are on the front lines, because there's always a lot that needs improved, and finding ways to do that in a peaceful way is very important. And so now we're on maybe number 4. Maybe I already hit 10. I don't know.
You're number 4, go ahead.
Maybe number 4. The other thing is that I think we need to be more forgiving of one another and just recognize that we're all human beings. And I just think that we're all in this together. We're all in this this planet Earth, if that's even how you want to say it. But it's very important that we maintain peace and that we appreciate each other's growth and development, and that we're not all on the same page with the same concepts at the same exact time, and that's okay. Lastly, I would say, I want to get back to maybe what individuals might be able to do for themselves a little bit more. And this may be a stretch from the key message of the book, but as of right now, being self-protective in the right way, not to the point where we're so fearful that we can't bear the thought of leaving the house because the news has scared us so much into our shells, but to explore various ways to maintain a healthy self-defense protocol and ongoing skill development for every single person is a very helpful way to prevent bad things from ever occurring. And really we want to underutilize our law enforcement as they are stretched very thin right now, and there is a decided lack of interest in the profession. We do have a lot of brave new souls coming onto the front lines on a regular basis, but overall it's probably not enough. And the technology that exists even now and that is currently being developed is a particular challenge. So finding the best talent to go into public service in these types of roles is very challenging as well. And to just do what you can to appreciate those that are willing to step up and do it for on our behalf.
That was a really great point there. You put the numbers in there, and I'm going to that you were saying that maybe there's correct me if I'm wrong, about a million cops compared to our entire population, and that that is only going to get even further stretched. And that even when you're, and you talk about the Second Amendment with this, and why that piece there is that they may not be coming as soon as that you would need them to, would like them to. And that was a piece you discussed, that it is what it is, that then take care of your life, your family life, and those who matter in your community, and building community will help support that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
So now, okay, so we are in 2021. Hooray. What's on the plate for you? What's in store, and what are you up to?
I'm working on the next part of Driven to Serve. It's going to focus on fire rescue, and I'm expecting it to hopefully be published before this upcoming fall. And then following that, I will segue into the healthcare workers on the front lines.
That's huge. And you touched on it very briefly in, I grew up in New York, so and I actually did work down across from the World Trade Center, and I actually worked for Cantor Fitzgerald at one time. So
Okay.
when you talked about 9/11 and how many had died, now particularly this is going to lead in when you start getting into the fire, because the police were there just as much, but they're still having their fight for of all of the effects of the cancer, whatnot, that's coming out of that. It's going to be interesting to see where you go with that as you lean into that new topic, which we're still talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
All right,
it's
great.
we're still very much at the beginning of outlining the topics for the fire rescue version. So I'll keep you posted.
Okay, that would be great, because that means you'll come back.
Yes, of course.
Okay, good. All right, so where can people find you? And again, the book in the series, Driven to Serve. Love that, right?
Thank you. It's available on Amazon Kindle. We're very soon to release the print version, hopefully within the next week or two. And then I also have a website called driventoservebook.com that will have information about the upcoming publications as well, and also subscribe to my reader list.
Okay, so good. Building your list. So then if people wanted to work with you, what would that look like? Do you come to speak, or what do you do when you're out with the book?
Sure. Speaking is absolutely something I'd like to do about Driven to Serve, as well as anything related to organizations that serve, the fallen in the front lines, and how they can further grow and develop, and using, some of my tools and skills to help them in that, and carrying out their mission.
Okay. And then if people get on your list, or do you serve your list, you communicate and send them, do they get to know you, and you send them emails and reach out? What does that look like?
Yes, and especially if they are in the profession, I want to hear from them. So just asking questions and responding to enhance the knowledge base.
Okay. Okay, great. So, all right, again, the series is Driven to Serve. The first one is, and I'm making sure here to get the Driven to Serve perspective from those called to public service. It did that. And Jennifer Stowell. And the second book's coming up. The first one is about our police officers and what that looks like and goes behind the scenes of that. It's a great read. It really is a really formative, very, it's bridging and I think so necessary. The second one coming up during the Serve series will be, and we're putting it out there, so you know you have to move forward, will be with fire department, and the third is going to be in healthcare, which is another unbelievable resource that we get to be grateful for. The website is driventoserve.com. And yeah,
driventoservebook.com. You have to add the book in there.
driventoservebook.com. And I'm going to link that, driventoservebook.com. And everyone, Jennifer, thank you for coming on today. Thank you for standing. And thank you for your generosity in serving and standing for others.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Bye.